Hey there, A's Days fans. Welcome to the Monday edition, the newest edition of A's Day. I'm your host, Joe Grado, and we are here talking everything A's. Today is Monday, March 10th, and we will be discussing the three biggest X factors, in our opinion, that we believe to be three big reasons as to why the Athletics have a successful season. Now, they may not be necessarily the most valuable players. They may not be leading across the boards in statistical categories, although one of our candidates may be on the pitching side of things. I guess time will tell. But all in all, these are guys that we think are going to fill roles that may have had a little bit of holes in years previous and really going to step up and help this team move in the direction that they're continuing to rise in. So excited to talk about all of that, and also just wanted to give a quick shout out earlier this morning at Hohokam Stadium. They held a press conference out in the field for Lawrence Butler, who, as a reminder, they did sign Lawrence Butler and the A's signed a 7-year, $65.5 million contract extension to keep him with the Athletics for the long term. And it really spoke volumes that literally the whole team was there in attendance supporting Butler, and very proud to see that their teammate is going to be one of the core pillars of the A's as they usher in a new era as the team heads from Oakland to Sacramento before moving permanently to Las Vegas. So 17 days away from opening day. I can't believe that we are getting just within 2 weeks till the A's are going to be heading up to Seattle to kick off the 2025 regular season against the Seattle Mariners. Nice 4-game AL West series, should be a nice entertaining way. A tough pitching matchup, but of course we're not here to talk about that today. We will do a series preview on opening day. Plenty of time until we get to that. Just excited to be talking ball, and the 162 is back very soon. So with that, we are going to kick it to our opening before we jump right in to discuss who, in our opinion, who we think are going to be the three big X factors to lead the A's to have some success in 2025 in a potential wild card or even division chase. So thanks for tuning in once again. After the opening sounds, we will be jumping right in and discussing. So Holy Toledo, can't believe with all this baseball talk, it is right around the corner. Let's hit it. All right, and thank you once again for tuning into today's Monday edition of A's Day as regularly scheduled. Once again, we will be talking about who we believe to be our three X factors for the 2025 season. But before we do, with all of the new content that we have been releasing and continue to release from our trip down to Mesa, once again, thank you to Visit Mesa for partnering with us to be able to capture the A's as they ramp up for another season in their spring training facilities at Little Wolf Training Complex and Fitch Park, where they have a lot of their practices leading up to Cactus League games, and also at Hohokam Stadium too as well. Had a lot of really cool player interactions, got some memorabilia signed for future A's Day giveaways, had some amazing seats at the spring training game where we were at the A's Rockies, which was the A's spring training home opener. So again, I appreciate what Visit Mesa was really able to do for us. They really came through, and we received a lot of access to some wonders all throughout town at some of the local food establishments, the breweries, some local attractions, some cool hikes, all of that good stuff throughout City Limitless. So can't shout them out enough, and we'll shout them out at the end of this episode too as well, so don't go anywhere for that. But before we jump in, just want to give a reminder of where you can find us when you are not listening to us via podcast or watching the podcast video on our YouTube channel. So with that, our social media platforms, Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball, our YouTube channel where it's going to be a lot of our video content, video versions of this episode, and so much more as we continue to grow at A's Day Podcast. And for all of you out there that are just joining on with us, have been there from the start, and for future A's Day fans, would love to make it official and get to know each and every one of you by becoming an official subscriber on our Patreon website, patreon.com/A's Day. For just $2 a month, you'll be entered into win a monthly A's Day t-shirt, some A's autographed memorabilia, future A's game ticket giveaways, and so much more as we grow this A's Day platform together. You'll be glad you did. All right. So with that, let's jump into today's topic, 3 X factors. So want to start on the mound because to me, I feel like pitching really sets the tone for the team. And I do think this is an area that the A's have been rather young and developing through their system. But now you can see after the couple of moves that they made in this offseason to bolster the rotation, but also to provide a little bit more veteran experience on the mound to teach some of these younger guys. And we're going to be talking about one of those veteran additions today because I do think he's going to be one of the 3 key X factors. And he probably had this guy circled out of the 3 that we're going to mention today. He is probably their most exciting free agent signing this year. It's right-handed pitcher number 40, Luis Severino, who is slotted to be the opening day starter. He is going to be the ace of this staff, and he does bring a lot of postseason experience from his time in New York with the Yankees, but also this past season with the Mets too as well. Speaking of his time at the Mets, let's talk about what he did in 2024. He had an 11-7 win-loss record, made 31 starts, a 3.91 ERA, 182 innings pitched, 161 strikeouts, and just about a 1.2 whip, which is walks and hits allowed per innings pitched. So I think he's someone that's really going to have that. He's going to have to step up and really set the tone for this team. There's a lot more press around the A's. There's a lot more in terms of expectations just because of these extensions they're handing out and these free agent signings that were agreed upon this offseason. The A's spent the second most out of any organization behind the New York Yankees this offseason. So with that, and we know there's some other underlying factors and reasons why the spending happened, and maybe not necessarily is completely focused on trying to complement the on-field product, but through the financial decisions that needed to be made, it has translated to what should prove to be an improved ball club on the field and see an increase in the win total where this team has continued to thrive in the last couple of years or so. And you see young cores coming together. Now, the pitching staff, it's just gotten a lot deeper. And Luis Severino, he's really going to set that tone as this ace. He's going to bring another edge, another level of energy. If you ever look it up, type in Sevy Scream, and you'll get fired up to root on your A's. And if you're playing behind him, I'm sure it must really fire you up. So excited to see what kind of precedent he sets, what kind of standard he brings with his preparation every 5th day. I think his main thing is just going to have to make sure that he remains healthy, because that is what kind of led to a tough juncture in his time from, I'd say, about 2020 until 2023. He was dealing with on and off injuries with his time with the Yankees, and that's how it kind of concluded. And then the year he did come back in 2023, which was the first year, I believe, after he had Tommy John, first full year, he pitched to a 6.62 ERA. He was a shell of himself. The velocity was there, but not necessarily that movement that has made him so effective over the years. And without that, these are major league hitters. hard in, hard out. And it was cool that he was healthy again, seeing him throw 96, 98, but it was flat, and guys were sitting on it. You could tell he was losing confidence during that time, but you notice when guys come back from that type of injury, that surgery, they're usually back at full tilt the second full year, and that's kind of, he followed that same path. So it was unfortunate his 2023 was so rough, but he rebounded in 2024 with the Mets, made 31 starts, pitched to a sub-4 ERA, and he really pitched some clutch innings. So I think he's got his confidence back, got his swagger back, and I do think he's going to be pitching on a club where he is going to be one of the older vets. But I do think he's only 30, 31, so he certainly got some time left on his side for sure. But, let's see the effect this 3-year, $67 million contract has. I do think it's going to pay dividends. I think this A's team goes as Sevy goes. And I could see a big successful year. Really, it's just going to be his health. The pros of him, like I mentioned, he's a bulldog. He's going to sit 94, 97. He's going to have that nasty fastball change and that wipe out, put away 2-strike slider when he's on. The only time that he gets off is the two things where he's a little bit off. Like I said, it's health. You want to make sure that his body's in good condition, his arm maintains health, and you hope that surgery has really cleaned up whatever lingering issues there were. And maybe this second part is part of the reason maybe his body broke down, because his body was moving in different directions that wasn't as consistent as it should be. But I know his MO was at times his mechanics can get a little bit out of whack. And what I mean by that is sometimes his release point or his arm angle is at a different point, and it's not the same rhythm every pitch. So, and, having a different landing spot too as well. Maybe sometimes he's adding different levels of stress on his arm if he's throwing too much across his body or releasing too soon, who knows. But hopefully, as he continues to add to his craft and add to his veteranship as an MLB starting pitcher, you wonder if he'll be able to continue that, gain that consistency, and continue to find ways to be available for his club. Because as long as he's available, he's going to be very effective, and I think the rest of this rotation is going to pay dividends for the amount of work he puts in between starts. But I just think his edge, too. I do think that matters. This is a young club that's hungry. I do think they've got, I feel like a lot to prove, because there is a lot of negative press going on, with a town that is, in grieving, rightfully so, that, they've uprooted and, left Oakland and moving on to Sacramento. So there's a lot of people out there that maybe not directly rooting against the players because of the players individually, but may not be rooting for the A's anymore just because they aren't in Oakland anymore, and they have malintent towards the ownership group. So, they want, unfortunately, at the end of the day, having that kind of mentality. I understand why it's being focused on the ownership group, but at the end of the day, the people that suffer the most is the players on the field, because they're the ones that are grinding day in and day out. They're putting in that work all the way back in February, all the way through October. So, you feel for them in a way. And I do think those guys are going to come out for a chip on their shoulder. For those A's fans, too, that, are staying on with the fan base, and then also the new market in Sacramento, and for the new growing fans in Las Vegas, and baseball fans and A's fans all over the world. So, excited to see. All in all, first X factor here, Luis Severino. I do think he is going to set the tone as that ace. I do think he has a nasty repertoire, and some of these younger guys can learn some things. I do see him being a mentor to Osvaldo Bido. I do think he has similar arm action. Could have similar pitch break on some of his off speed. You wonder if he'll, in a way, kind of take him under his wing, a younger pitcher that has a very high ceiling in terms of his repertoire. All right. Let's move on here to our second out of 3 X factors that we believe are really going to be key components as to why the A's reached another level of success in 2025. And we're going to move onto the diamond, more position player focused here. We're going to be talking about, of course, first baseman Tyler Soderstrom. Again, if you haven't had a chance to, we are releasing 1 episode per day, talking about an athletics player profile and prediction all the way up until opening day. We have discussed Soderstrom as well, discussed all the expectations that he had following his cup of coffee in 2023. Really thought he was going to take off in 2024, but it didn't necessarily come to full fruition. Unfortunately, he did struggle out of the gate heading into the 2024 season in spring training. So they sent him down to start in AAA so that he can get his confidence at the plate, but also get defensive reps at first base and behind the plate. Eventually, around May, they had moved on. They were done with first baseman Ryan Noda, so they wanted to give Soderstrom another chance just because he was more of a power threat. And he is on the younger side, too, as well. So they wanted to have him get his feet wet, maybe gain some confidence, and see what they have in him, too. Obviously, at the time, he was 22, so still young. But you could see, even when he came back, something still wasn't clicking in his first 40-plus games. I think it was around 45, 46 games. He had 7 home runs, but was only hitting .210, and then he had an unfortunate bone bruise in his left wrist. That forced him to miss 2 months. When a young guy is really trying to find his footing in the major leagues, that's got to be really unfortunate. You come into the year with these expectations, and you really you know what it's going to take, and you want to get off to a good start. Even though people say spring training doesn't really matter, it does matter for some guys that are vying for starting spots, roster spots. And you saw spring training wrote a lot on the start status of Soderstrom to kick off the 2024 year. He didn't necessarily have the best spring training, so they sent him down to get his reps at AAA Las Vegas with the Aviators so he can get everyday at-bats, get that confidence, and so he gets to a place where he is ready to contribute at the major league level and provide that power stroke and that plate discipline and continue to improve on that defense. He did finally get that opportunity, but then, like I mentioned, he missed the 2 months. Came back at the end of the year in September and finished strong over his last 12 games. He had some line like 273 and 2 home runs in 12 games and a couple other extra base hits too as well. So you saw the improvement was there, ended on a positive note, but now this is his for the taking. He really needs to step up and take the first base job. It's no one's to take from him, to be honest. I think his floor right now is being a potential platoon with Miguel Andujar, but Soderstrom being still only 23 years old, you don't want to platoon a guy so young, especially someone that controls the strike zone so well. I know these are limited statistics here, but he actually did have enough success to me in a small sample size last year, 6 for 20 against left-handed pitchers. So you want to continue to see if he can have that consistent success against same arm side pitching, because if you see that go, then unfortunately he's probably going to move closer and closer to that platoon with Andujar. So, I do think Soderstrom is really going to be a key here to have that left-handed power bat to complement. So obviously with the core guys, you're going to have Butler, you're going to have Rooker, but then there's just these question marks where are these guys ready to make that big jump in 2025, or is it really going to come in 26? Well, guys like Zach Geloff, who has power potential, and what is Jacob Wilson going to look like in his first full year at the big leagues at shortstop? Is it going to be a lot of success? Is it going to be a lot of learning curves? So, and you're going to get a lot of power and production out of the catching spot with Shea Langoliers. Obviously, Brent Rooker is going to do his thing at the DH position. And J.J. Bleday continues to flourish and will continue to cement his role as the everyday center fielder, one of the most underrated guys in the league, in my opinion. But I do think a lot of it is going to fringe. It's going to fringe on the left-handed bat of Tyler Soderstrom, because if you can plug him into that 5 spot and be that RBI threat, hitting doubles gap to gap, hitting with that raw power to all fields, like I said, and really building on continuing to showcase that plate discipline, that pitch recognition early, and really have a plan of attack. And I think if he can consistently translate that from when he showed that in the minor league level to major leagues, and maybe being able to have a little bit more gumption and attack, being able to handle this major league pitching on a consistent basis, I do think you're going to see Soderstrom take that next leap. I mean, I see him hitting like 22 home runs and being an on-base machine. I think if him being in this lineup, I do think there's going to be a lot of positives up and down it, and I do think there's going to be a lot of positive chemistry feeding off one another. So I'm hopeful that with the balanced attack in this offensive lineup that the Athletics are potentially showcasing, that Soderstrom can kind of relax, take what the pitching is giving them, take the ball to left field, but take his walks. So that's what I'm looking for. I want to see him hit 22-plus home runs, but I want to see his walk percentage increase significantly, because his eye is there. He's just got to stay within himself and not get too antsy. So that's our second X factor there, Tyler Soderstrom. Like I said, it's a lot to put on a 23-year-old, but I do think he's someone that's been knocking on the door, and I think he's been itching for this opportunity, and he's really going to run with it, especially in this kind of lineup. And if he is, that's just a bonus added layer of an offensive threat that this Athletics team can offer. So if he's going, that there's probably a lot of good things going for this A's team. So let's see. Good luck to Tyler Soderstrom in 2025. Hopefully he can really develop into a pretty consistent force here. And finally, let's move on to our third and final X factor of the three candidates that we believe that if these guys step up and have pretty successful seasons or take leaps from what they did in 2024, the A's are going to be in a really good spot in terms of at least the wild card chase, if not the AL West division. We'll see what that looks like. That's, again, for a future episode. But the third X factor is another addition that the A's made in this offseason via free agency. Right-handed pitcher, relief pitcher, Jose Leclerc, who was with the Texas Rangers for all 8 of his major league seasons, including being a reliever on the 2023 Texas Rangers team, World Series team, excuse me. He does have that playoff pedigree, so if these are the aspirations that the A's want to put the league on notice, it's good to have these kind of people in the building that have that postseason experience. Like I mentioned at the height of this episode, having Luis Severino, who has made several postseason starts, and I believe he even made 1 or 2 appearances out of the bullpen, so you never know what the situation dictates or calls for. I know his was maybe a little bit more due to injury, and he came back and was available in a more limited role. But it is good to see some of these guys have that flexibility and versatility, especially in the postseason. Things can change quickly, and you got to be ready to adapt to get where you're looking to go. But Jose Leclerc also had a great postseason run. He was closing out games for Texas in 2023. So that's something where he'll be transitioning into the setup role to get the ball to Mason Miller, one of the game's premier closers. In 2024, Jose Leclerc, he had a 4.32 ERA in 64 games. He did have 89 strikeouts in 66 2/3 innings. So definitely a slight regression from what Rangers fans had been accustomed to seeing. But nevertheless, the high strikeout rate is still there. And he is someone that can work multiple innings. 17 out of his 64 appearances in 2024 were more than 1 inning. That's really important to really help reserve the longevity of all the arms in that bullpen. It is a long season, and you want to win as many games as you can. But to have to rely on the same arms every single night, even if it's just an inning, those innings add up. You know, you get to the dog days of June, July, especially when this team's up in Sacramento. If you keep going to the bullpen just every single night, and I know that is a more widespread trend around the league, and hey, maybe that's why injuries are up with arms. In my opinion, that's what it seems like anyway. But I think if you can kind of get more flexible of having certain guys available on certain nights, I think it's good to really have multiple guys within the bullpen that can throw multiple innings, because you're really going to preserve, especially your high leverage guys, I think you're going to preserve a lot. And Jose Leclerc is really someone that can be versatile in his role. Like I mentioned, he was the closer during the 2023 run and last year too as well with the Rangers, I believe. And now he's going to be in a role where he'll be pitching high leverage situations, will probably be 7th, 8th inning. So I think it's really important for Leclerc to step up and kind of rebound to his 2023 form. Even though if the A's get what they got or what the Rangers got from Leclerc last year, I think they'd be pretty satisfied with that, but I do think there is better in that, and I think Jose will tell you that himself. And it's just because of how nasty his pitch mix is, and I think some of it was just some unfortunate luck at times, too. If you look at expected outcomes, his ERA should have actually been lower, but hey, that's baseball. That happens sometimes. I do think he is really talented with that fastball, and he's got a devastating splitter. I do think he's going to be a nice compliment to Miller. And another thing, in terms of that versatility, this could also help preserve Miller, and not that he's really had an issue of losing steam at the end of a year or anything like that, but just to preserve the longevity of his career. While Leclerc's here, you can have Leclerc close on nights where Miller, you can give him an extra night if he's been going a lot, back-to-back nights, whatever the situation may be. So this is a real situation where if everything goes right, they could be in the situation where on a consistent basis, if the A's are ending the 6th inning with a lead, the game could be over. And I know we're really jumping ahead of ourselves, but I really believe in Mason Miller that much. And Jose Leclerc's ceiling, I think those two together could be really nasty. And I like this A's bullpen as a whole, and continue to listen on to those A's Day player profile predictions. We'll get more into the pitcher side of things here soon as we get closer to opening day. But I do think there are some really effective arms that are going to cause some problems for hitters, especially up and down in the division. I do think there are some sneaky lefties that can neutralize these left-handed hitters, and I do think there are guys like Leclerc that can move in and out of different roles depending on where opponents are at within their lineups, just to make sure that the lineup is best fit for the A's to be successful in terms of run prevention and offensive limitation in terms of opponent production. So excited to see what Leclerc could really bring an edge to this A's team to play with the lead and end with the lead and feel very confident, hand the ball to Leclerc and Miller that most times than not, that they're going to get the job done. So that provides a little bit level of confidence to a team too as well, that if you get into a certain point, you score a certain amount of runs, you don't have to tense up and feel like, we really got to outslug this team, or our pitching's going to last down, or pitching side of things being like, my offense really only scoring 2-3 runs right now. If we give up anything more than that, it's really going to be a struggle. So kind of having that balance where you're going to see the offensive firepower, in my opinion, especially being in a more hitter-friendly ballpark for half of their games, and the climates at night too as well. But I do think the pitching has really increased in depth between the signings of Severino and Springs, the development of the summer guy, these younger guys, and now you're going to have J.P. Sears, who has been the A's ace, be in the 3 spot, which is, I think he's going to be one of the best 3s in the league. So really excited to see what that big 3 looks like. But again, these 3 X factors, in my opinion, if they step up, this team's really going places. If they don't, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, and they'll have to find it from different sources. But just from what I've been seeing, and what the trajectory of these guys' careers, what they did last year, heading into this year, kind of seeing the fit within the team. And obviously you can only take so much from spring training, but kind of factor in, and this is our opinion. So again, that's a show. Before we get on out of here, we just want to thank our partner, Visit Mesa, again, for making our trip to Mesa possible to cover the A's during their spring training and also enjoy the wonders of City Limitless by some of their local food establishments, breweries, attractions, and so much more. So with that, we're going to do a quick ad and then preview Friday's show and get on out of here. So, welcome to Mesa, Arizona, a gateway city to one of the most dynamic regions in the country. With countless places for new discoveries, competitive sports, Wild West adventures, and farm-to-table cuisine, Mesa is a city that knows no bounds. From urban to rural, mountain peak to desert floor, arts and culture to wildlife and nightlife, each and every guest is given unparalleled access to one of the richest arrays of visitor offerings in the country. A geographic wonderland, Mesa is close to the Tonto National Forest and the iconic Superstition Mountains, but for enough to experience the wide-open and true Arizona vacation. From here, all things are possible, leaving you breathless and sure to show you why we are City Limitless. So be sure, if you are in Mesa, Arizona, or planning to get on down there this month while they are at spring training, or if you're thinking about planning a trip for next year, be sure to connect with the nice people at Visit Mesa. They're located in downtown Mesa at 1 North McDonald. It's on North McDonald and Main Street. I believe they're on the second floor. Feel free to check out their website too as well, visitmesa.com. Shoot them an email, give them a phone call. They'll be sure to set up a perfect itinerary for you to enjoy some spring training, but also to enjoy all the wonders of Mesa. If you want to enjoy some of the local cuisine, go on a nice hike, check out some of the attractions, take in the arts. They'll point you in whatever direction you are looking to go. So, with that, that's a show. Today we talked about the 3 X factors that we believe if they go, the A's are going to go and reach a different level in terms of being in a postseason race for a wild card position. And if things all shake out right, maybe even an AL West race for the division. So with that, we talked our 3 X factors with Luis Severino, Jose Leclerc, and first baseman Tyler Soderstrom. So we'll be sure to track them all throughout the season, see how they're doing. Wish each and every one of them the best of luck. Hope they have a great 2025, and I hope the A's do too as well. Hopefully we are jumping in this in year one. Hopefully we're going to see a postseason team, but we will get into that in our team preview episode on the morning of opening day. But that is for another day. Again, be sure to check out all of our content on our socials. Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball, on our YouTube channel at A's Day Podcast. And to become an official subscriber, join us on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day for just $2 a month. You'll be entered to win exclusive monthly A's Day t-shirt giveaways, A's memorabilia, future A's ticket giveaways, and so much more as we are able to continue to grow this platform. So again, be sure to continue to check out our daily A's player profile and prediction episodes. The most recent one coming out today should be about Brent Rooker, so tune in to that one. And before we get out of here, I want to give you a little bit of a preview of what to expect on Friday's show. So like we did last Friday, we talked about how Brent Rooker, why he could be an AL MVP candidate. Well, we do think there's one more on the roster that can also play into that race, and we do think we have maybe a little bit broader of an argument, and that is going to be our thoughts on why we believe Lawrence Butler can win the MVP in 2025. So you don't want to miss that. It'll be a similar length episode as this, and maybe even a little shorter. We'll see. But we want to share our thoughts, especially it's an exciting time. We want to talk about our two core guys that have just gotten extended for long term. They're going to be A's. They're going to be in Sacramento, going to be in Vegas, going to be wearing the green and gold for quite a while, with Brent Rooker getting a 5-year, $60 million extension, and Lawrence Butler getting a 7-year, $65.5 million extension. So congrats to those two. Hope they are both battling out for the American League MVP. Again, A's probably be having a good season at that point too as well. So that's a show. I want to thank you all for tuning in with me once again. You can, for all of you A's Day fans that have been there with us from day one, we're really cooking now. For the new fans, we're going to expect episodes every Monday and Friday regularly. In the month of March, it is, like I have mentioned, I think twice now, that we do have our one episode a day all the way up until opening day for each and every one of us to be either reminded of the guys that are on the Athletics roster heading into the 2025 opening day series. And for some of the new A's fan or A's Day fans, it's a good way to learn these A's players. If you're just a baseball fan in general, we're just a podcast that you can learn about another one of the 30 MLB teams. So whoever you are, we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in weekly, and we're really excited to be having this thing going. So once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Thank you for listening to another edition of the A's Day as we are talking everything A's. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back behind the mic real soon. Holy Toledo, A's baseball is so back. Play ball.